feet apart. Everybody get your Broadway on in your very own biodome with musicals from home.
A plague on both your houses! I am sped.
Why the devil came you between us? I thought it all for the best.
They have made worms meat of me!
Either thou, or I, or both shout with him hence. This shall determine that.
Holmes! You're missing the neighborhood. Mrs. Hudson has had complaints from the elderly invalid next door that your pistol practice is having a deleterious effect on her unstable condition. Do you imagine shooting VR in bullet holes is a proper tribute to Queen Victoria?
Her Majesty is no more interested in my bullet-riddled wall than she is in the latest edition of The Strand, secreted behind your back.
May I remind you that the Strand magazine funds this detective agency?
That is the familiar reprise of an all-too-familiar tune. You know, I managed before your association with that penny dreadful.
Damn it, man! Ridicule my writings, but not the Strand, which has only brought you fame.
I was not finished. About your writings, there is no need to remind me, for I am beset upon by an ardent and unwanted public wherever I go. Fame. What, may I ask you, is fame? Being accosted by people that I neither know nor have any wish to know? Yes, Boswell, because of your overwrought prose, people assault me like long-lost relations and insist on sideshow tricks. Oh, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, guess how much me missus weighs? Please. And all the while having ingrate expectations of my being a cape and deer stalker wearing, cloud of pipe smoke fuming, 7-foot-tall cocaine fiend.
Look at you, Holmes. Papers, strewn, hither and yon. Scientific experiments left half-finished. Books, opened and discarded with equal dispatch. You have not taken a case these last several months, choosing instead to skulk about Baker Street.
There is nothing new under the sun. It's all been done.
I was not finished. You bully and annoy Mrs. Hudson. And me, I might add. And now you see fit to endanger the local citizenry with gunshots.
Don't you see, man? Since Professor Moriarty's death plunge down Reichenbach Falls, the criminal mastermind is no more. He was the last of his kind, and I fear that his demise is also the end of me. For Moriarty's evil genius engaged me like a conflagration. Some unseen piece of me must have gone over with him, invisible yet as real as any corporeal part. Was it a Pyrrhic victory? I wonder, Watson. I wonder. I drift vaguely from day to day, inured to sorrow, ignorant to delight. Books have lost their luster, and work is flavourless and grey. Of course I have taken no new cases. Oh, what, pray tell, would you have me do? Use my faculties to divine clandestine details in matrimonial cases? Should I employ deductive reasoning to solve drunken disputes at some nearby gin palace? Or perhaps you'd prefer that I follow behind Scotland Yard with broom and dustpin, cleaning up the mess they chronically create? Yes, right?
Come, Holmes. You think a grown man like yourself would be able to occupy his time in some sensible fashion?
Very well, Watson. You leave me no recourse but to surrender to taboo.
Holmes, not that.
No, I'm afraid so. I feel compelling urges.
Candidly, I am not entirely certain the sound of your fiddle playing is preferable to your infernal gunshots.
No use, Watson. My imaginary bow is undaunted.
Really, Holmes, I had hoped you would put your mind to something a bit more useful.
The mind is like a large field, Watson. It is available for cultivation only if the land is used sensibly and portions of it are permitted to lie fallow periodically. Part of my mind, the professional mind, is on holiday at the moment. During its leave of absence, I am exercising another quarter of it.
It's a pity your professional mind is out of town.
What do you see?
I believe we are about to have a visitor. Someone interested in that portion of your intellect that is currently lying fallow. And from the look of him, he certainly appears a likely candidate for 221B.
I'm not in the mood for visitors. Neither is she. Now, what does he look like?
For one thing, he has an insubordinate beard. Slightly reddish, in desperate need of a barber.
Clothes?
Norfolk jacket and knickerbockers. They look well worn, even from a distance. He keeps adjusting his shirt cuffs.
Probably false. Height?
Above medium height.
Age?
Roughly 40. With an incessant grin that suggests he might be mad.
Gait?
The man walks like a gigantic leprechaun.
And does he carry a silver-handed walking stick?
He does not.
Not?
Not.
Not? Hello, it is Shaw. I've never seen him sans his prized cane. Whatever has made him decide to pay me a visit?
Who is he?
I met him at a concert of Wagner some years ago. We got into a rather heated disagreement about the Tannhauser tenor that lasted several hours and have been friendly ever since. Shaw has got hold of some of the oddest notions, not the least of which is his connection with the Fabian Society.
What? Those socialists?
Indeed. Shaw is a zealous advocate of their mission, and the absent walking stick was presented to him on his 10th anniversary with the Fabians. Red mahogany with a silver filigreed handle. It has the initials GBS on a silver plate, and the staff is entwined with the engraved motto, educate, agitate, organize. I have never seen him without it. But apart from all that, I am told he is a very brilliant Irishman.
Who told you that?
He did.
Good Lord.
You know, like most Irishmen, he has a ready tongue, equally comfortable advertising his beliefs as well as himself. And, of course, as poor as a church mouse.
A brilliant church mouse.
Oh, no, you want to be careful with him, Watson. You want to watch him and give him a wide berth.
Why? What does he do?
He's a critic.
He burst right in, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, he tends to do that, Mrs. Hudson.
I never stand on ceremony, ma'am, even for a fair young colleen like yourself.
Shamrock hooligan.
Shaw, my dear fellow, welcome, welcome. I know you've heard me speak of Dr. Watson, who shares these lodgings with me. Ah, good. Watson, allow me to present Corno di Bassetto of the Saturday Review, known to his intimates as Mr. George Bernard Shaw.
By God, I believe your rooms are more untidy than my own. However, they are somewhat larger than my hovel, so Allows you to be more creative with your sloppiness.
Now see here, my good man.
You've no idea what a pleasant surprise this is. I'd quite given up hope of ever persuading you to set foot in these digs. I trust in any event that you have not come all this way merely to visit us with your philosophy of socialism.
It wouldn't hurt you if I had. My eloquence on the subject has been declared alarming by those in a position to know.
Even so, I can't offer you any breakfast. That's long since been cleared away. But in any case, I perceive by your right sleeve that you've already dined on eggs.
Ah, you are fallible. That's yesterday's breakfast.
What do you say to some brandy?
I'd say it would destroy me as surely as it did my father and countless other drunkards. I'd say I'd remain a teetotaler.
Certainly a snifter of brandy won't ruin you.
What's certain is I'll outlive the pair of you. With all the drink, meat and tobacco you consume, you're digging yourselves early graves.
Yes. Holmes has cautioned me on your Fabian ways to educate. Which reminds me, where is your walking stick?
Ah, yes. I was obliged to pawn it yesterday. A temporary expedient until my next week's wages. Ludicrous state of affairs for a middle-aged man, don't you feel? Critics are not revered, as they should be.
With critics, you have me at a disadvantage. As a writer, I'm forced to actually work for a living.
Could you manage on 2 guineas a week, Doctor? Your writing brings you a deal more, I dare say.
Why don't you attempt something in a more lucrative vein?
No. I shall continue as a critic, occasionally turning out a play of my own on the side. I shall keep at it. After all the great English playwrights are Irish. Look at Sheridan, Goldsmith. Look, in our own time at Mr. Oscar Wilde. All Irish. One day Shaw will be included in that glorious pantheon.
Shakespeare was English.
Shakespeare?
Now you've done it, Watson.
Shakespeare? A mountebank who had not the wit to invent his own plots, much less embellish them? Tolstoy was right. A conspiracy in 19th century academia. That's what Shakespeare is. Ask Queen Victoria, do rulers really kiss away their kingdoms? Or don't they rather hold on to power just as long as and tenaciously as they can? Antony and Cleopatra. What ineffable romantic twaddle. They were as cynical a pair of politicians as you could conjure, the both of them.
But the poetry.
Poetry is rubbish. People don't talk poetry, Doctor, only in books and bad plays. Well, the man had a brilliant mind, but he should never have wasted his intellect on plays. He should have been an essayist. He had not the gifts of a playwright.
Surely you didn't come here this morning to take on Shakespeare any more than capitalism. Though I would like to point out the discrepancy of your views on the redistribution of wealth and your own desire for an increase in salary.
Oh, you swayed me from the point of all this talk of Shakespeare. I have come to you this morning on quite a different errand, for I believe I have a case for you.
Yes. Some fascinating literary mystery, no doubt.
Has some blackguard purloined a monograph of yours?
No, Watson. It's the case of the dangling participle.
There has been a murder done.
Who has been murdered?
A critic, Jonathan McCarthy, writes for the Morning Current, or wrote, I should say, since he will write no more.
I confine my attention as a rule to the agony columns, but I can't have missed such a story as...
You won't find it in the papers yet. Word of the deed was just circulating at the review offices this morning. Instead of finishing my article due yesterday, I came here directly to tell you of it.
Why me?
Well, surely this is obvious. I wish you to investigate the matter.
I'll not be tempted from my lodging on a fool's errand.
Oh, you've been foolish before.
Why not hire Inspector Watson here, or, leave it to the police?
The police? Oh, come now. I too share your feelings for the dubious abilities of Scotland Yard. It was you that said when the police are out of their depths, which, by the way, is their normal state, the matter is...
laid before me.
The sign of four.
Yes, and?
And I lay it before you. Are you up to the challenge? The man was stabbed.
Had this critic any enemies?
Oh! You asked that question about a critic! In any case, it must surely be obvious he possessed at least one. For McCarthy, I should postulate a score. He was even less agreeable than I.
Come, let us have a look. Mrs. Hudson?
No.
Sorry. Mrs. Hudson?
It's no use, Mr. Holmes. I'll never go out to get you any more of your cursed bullets.
Well, perhaps just a cab, then?
Straight away. Straight away.
Have you the unfortunate man's address?
One moment. I have 2 points of concern. First, I have that blasted deadline, but we'll join you presently.
At?
Number 24 Regent Street.
Near the Langham Hotel.
And your second point?
The matter of a fee.
I haven't yet said that I will take this case.
Nevertheless, I must tell you, I'm not capable of paying a brass farthing for your services.
I have worked for less on occasion if the matter interests me.
Ha!
And Watson is eager for me to resume my professional investigations.
I'm not the one whose magnifying glass is covered with cobwebs.
Oh, and Shaw, what hold did McCarthy have on you?
All right, fair enough. The late Jonathan McCarthy was not much of a critic, and even less of a human being, if such a thing is possible. However, in a heretofore unseen display of insight, McCarthy was the first person to recognise my dazzling talents and singular writing ability, and use his position to help me secure my first job as a critic. Consequently, I am beholden to the bastard.
Let an Irishman talk long enough and eventually the truth will emerge.
Also, as long as I'm being forthright, I was thinking that if Dr. Watson pays his share of the rent with prose accounts of your work, perhaps I could do the same by putting Sherlock Holmes on the stage.
Pray do not, or like the late Professor Moriarty, you'll find it's a long drop off the Reichenbach Falls.